All right, here we go. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the great debate that's transpiring right now on Twitter, because Twitter is on fire with this topic. Is Brock Purdy a dink-and-dunk quarterback? We're going to take a look at some analytics. We're going to go through some of my thoughts, take your questions. Stay tuned. Today's show is absolutely awesome. But before we get started, let's open up the floor. What do you think, faithful? Is Purdy a dink-and-dunk passer? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Let's set the foundation with this. I went back and watched every single throw that Brock Purdy made in 2022. And, of course, we were live for all of the watch parties as well. And these are my takeaways with what Brock Purdy showed as a rookie after being the final pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. I really liked his good pocket feel as well as his mobility inside the pocket and outside of the pocket. His ability to make plays out of structure really surprised me in a very Tony Romo, Russell Wilson way, where the pocket broke down. He was able to twirl out of the pocket and make a throw downfield while keeping his eyes up and not reverting them to the ground in trying to run the football. I appreciated and respected his command of the offense for a rookie. He stepped into that huddle, and players have talked about this, how he demanded and commanded respect right from the jump. And that's why they believe that Brock Purdy has already inserted himself as a leader of this football team. He's been accurate and decisive with a lot of his reads. His ability to adjust on the fly has been a positive development. And what I mean by that, first playoff game in the wild card round against Seattle, he started off a little bit rocky. But then he made adjustments, got a little bit more comfortable as his feet got wet with what the NFL playoff atmosphere is like, and he finished that game strong, and he was carving up that Seahawks defense. Impressive poise as well, having to come back in a couple of games, surprising athleticism. The arm strength was not spectacular, which really is the main topic of this conversation today. Most importantly, though, and sometimes people overshadow this, Brock Purdy won games. He was 7-1 as a starter. That one loss came against the Eagles. He's credited with the loss because he started that game, but he got knocked out early by Hassan Reddick. He was basically 8-1 because when Jimmy Garoppolo got injured, San Francisco was actually down by a touchdown early in that game against Miami, and as we know, injured his elbow in the NFC Championship game. Kyle Shannahan with an update on Brock Purdy day one of Niners OTAs, saying that he expects Brock Purdy to be ready for week one, and Purdy is going to be able to start throwing as early as next week. That would be the 3-month timeline of him getting that surgery on the UCL in his elbow. Positive development on that front. As for the dink-and-dunk conversation, there's really no other way to address this, right, than to take a look at the numbers, dive into the tape, and look at the analytics. And what I found at looking at some of these really deep dive numbers is that the numbers back up both sides of the argument, that he does throw the ball downfield, but he's also a dink-and-dunk quarterback. And with some of these analytical numbers, it's hard to see where Purdy fared compared to other quarterbacks with a larger sample size, because in the regular season, which is what we're basing these numbers off of, he only started 5 games and then replaced Jimmy Garoppolo as his 6th game. So a lot of these other quarterbacks have a larger sample size. Those numbers coming up right around the corner. But first, want to welcome a brand new sponsor on board of the San Francisco 49ers Report. We've been talking about them over the last week and change. It is Bird Dogs. Join the comfort kingdom with Bird Dogs, and upon making your first purchase, you get a free Yeti-style tumbler at birddogs.com. Make sure you use the promo code CHAT. Are you looking for shorts that not only look great, but feel great too? Look no further than Bird Dogs. As a regular viewer of the 49ers Report, you know we're all about personal stories, like Brock Purdy being Mr. Irrelevant. And Bird Dogs has one to share as well. It's springtime. Summer is coming up right around the bend, and I've been wearing Bird Dogs for their amazing fit. Not only do they make me look great, but they make me feel confident and comfortable all day long. I love their stretchy fabric. Bird Dog shorts, they hug your legs in all the right places while still allowing for freedom of movement. Don't believe me? Try them out for yourself. click the link in the comments section and in the description of this video and head to birddogs.com. Enter the promo code chat to get a free Yeti-style tumbler with your first purchase. It's the Comfort Kingdom. Their shorts and pants are oh so comfortable. A lot of different designs and colors as well. birddogs.com, promo code chat. Now, the standard numbers with Brock Purdy, before we take a look at some of the analytics here. In the regular season, completed 67% of his passes. That's right around, if not just above, league average. 1,300 plus yards, 13 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. That goes to show you the good decision-making from Brock Purdy. And that might be the most important attribute of all quarterbacks. Can you make the right read? Can you make an accurate throw? Can you make the right decision? Purdy did that a lot. And his yards per completion, 8.1. In the playoffs, yards per completion went up. Now, yards per completion is sometimes based upon the receiver picking up yards after the catch. That is important to note here. 3 touchdowns in the playoffs to 0 interceptions. Completion percentage at 65. That's still solid. 41 of 63. Now let's take a look at some of these deep dive figures here, right? Intended air yards per pass attempt. Brock Purdy last year, 6.6. That did rank 31st in the NFL among qualifying quarterbacks according to Pro Football Reference. So that's intended air yards per pass attempt. How long is the football traveling in the air? But then there's this, completed air yards. The definition for that, the total yards completed for passes that traveled in the air past the line of scrimmage before being caught. These are completed balls. Brock Purdy in 5 starts had a total of 668 yards. If you multiply that times 3, that would equal 15 starts, not 17 starts, the normal amount of games played in the regular season. Now, some people might say, and I got this back on Twitter, well, why are you going to assume he's going to start 15 games? Let's assume that he stays healthy. Let's assume that those numbers are multiplied times 3. We do this all the time in sports, right? That's why you always hear that phrase, that athlete is on pace for blank. Purdy's completed air yards would have been 2,004. That would have ranked 12th in the NFL ahead of Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones, as well as Justin Fields. So that's right about at that middle range. So does that show that Brock Purdy is a dink-and-dunk quarterback? I would say it proves otherwise because he does throw the football downfield. As for yards per pass thrown, Brock Purdy was second in the National Football League behind Tua Tagovailoa at 8.9. He's considered a weak arm quarterback, but he too in Mike McDaniel's offense does throw the football and force it into the teeth of the defense. Brock Purdy did the same thing at 8.3. He was ahead of Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jalen Hurts. Now, a lot of people want to say that defenses adjusted to Patrick Mahomes and didn't give him the deep ball. That is partially true. Ted Talks Ball, I give you credit for that on Twitter for firing back at me, bringing your side of the argument to the table. I will also tell you this about Patrick Mahomes. 8.0 yards per pass thrown, he was played differently by defenses, yes. But that offense for the Kansas City Chiefs and the identity of it was completely different in 2022 than it was in 2021 and seasons prior. Why is that? Not only did the identity of the offense change, Patrick Mahomes was played differently by defenses. That's because the Kansas City Chiefs did not have Tyreek Hill and the threat of him being that vertical wide receiver to take the top off the defense. So, couple of different elements to that argument. Now, I will say that when you watch games, it's not like Brock Purdy has a bazooka, a cannon, a gunslinger of an arm. It's not the strongest arm in the NFL. He did push the ball downfield, contrary to belief. And this could all be based on a couple of different factors. Brock Purdy did a good job of identifying what the defense was doing. The The play design from Kyle Shanahan allowed Brock Purdy to be successful. He got the ball out quickly. He threw downfield with anticipation. Can defenses adjust to that to take away some of those throws? For sure. The play design and throwing to a specific spot right away quickly can also lead to those numbers being a little bit inflated as well. Defenses, no question, are going to make some adjustments to how Brock Purdy plays the game of football. That's just a fact. And it's going to be up to him to make those adjustments as well. But when a guy like Kurt Warner, who's a Hall of Famer, who's won Super Bowls, who's played at an extremely high level, says something like this, yes, I will chime in on this Brock Purdy debate. No, he's not a dinker and dunker. He plays the offense and attacks when called for, which is opposite of the definition of dink and dunk. So he also deserves credit for taking what the defense is giving him. And what did we keep talking about last year when Brock Purdy replaced Jimmy Garoppolo? We kept talking about the fact that the downfield passing attack added another element and an explosive element to that Niners offense that we hadn't seen in a really, really long time. We were willing to give Brock Purdy credit then for chucking the rock and slinging it downfield with the aerial attack, but we don't want to give him credit now when it was clear at the time that allowed the Niners, with Brock Purdy as the team starting quarterback, to average more than 30 points per game. So let's ask you this question once again. Is Purdy a dink and dunk passer? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Did I change your opinion? I kind of stand on both sides of the argument. He doesn't have a strong arm, but he threw the ball a little bit downfield. Does he dink and dunk sometimes? Yes, but sometimes that's because that's what the defense gives you. If I can go to Christian McCaffrey on that dump off pass on a third down, I'm going to do it. The George Kittle is right there. I'm going to take the read, deliver the football. Let's start to take some of your questions here. Billy Garza, is there any way that Purdy can lose the starting job if Trey balls out? I think so. Look, if Trey Lance plays unbelievable football here in OTAs, in minicamp, in training camp, and in the preseason, and he's able to display some of that special ability that he had at North Dakota State as a dual threat guy who has a really strong arm, then how can the Niners move off of him considering what they gave up to draft him and move up to take him? But he's going to have to rise up to the occasion. And if he doesn't, that's on him. Words of wisdom. What are Brock's realistic chances at this point of being fully recovered to be at least back where he was prior to the injury? Now, Kyle Shanahan said that he can start throwing as early as next week. That would be 3 months from when he got that UCL surgery. What I do worry about, and I don't think a lot of people have talked about this, Brock Purdy, as we know, as I just admitted, doesn't have a cannon for an arm. Does the elbow surgery impact his arm strength a little bit? And even if it's a little bit, and he doesn't have the same velocity behind some of those balls, on some of those tight window throws that he was able to make with anticipation, if there's a lack of zip on that, could they be intercepted? Can he not get the ball to where he needs to get to? And when will that arm be 100%? I think these are all valid concerns for 2023. Romeo, it was his rookie campaign. So to talk about dink and dunk on a guy that is new to this NFL system isn't really fair. His role was actually to be a game manager, which he far exceeded. He did. And if anybody thought that Mr. Relevant was going to have this season prior to it, you would have all told me that I was crazy. Now, I did say in the preseason, the 49ers can't cut Brock Purdy. He has to make this 53-man roster because with what he did in the preseason, other teams are going to look at that at the most important position in all of football, and they're not going to allow him to hit waivers and get brought back on the Niners practice squad. That's why he made the 53-man roster. I saw it. The Niners saw it. Nobody, though, saw that he was going to throw 13 touchdowns, 4 picks in the regular season, and go 7-0 as a starter prior to the NFC Championship game. Make sure you subscribe to the show. A little bit of a different show today, but we got to give you the best football analysis as it pertains to the Niners right here on the show. Thanks for watching.